The game you're looking at right now is StarTropics, and not only is it one of the many games on the Nintendo Switch Online service, but it's one of the many games we have not covered on the Nintendo Switch Online review crew. That's because it was released a year or two before I started this series, making it one of the many Nintendo Entertainment System and Super NES games that I have completely glossed over. That is, until now. This summer, we're gonna go back in time and cover all of those missing games, starting with Journey to Silius, the aforementioned StarTropics, and Shadow of the Ninja. These three games were added to Nintendo's online service years ago, but the question still remains, are any of them actually worth playing? To answer that question, I decided to flip through the pages of Electronic Gaming Monthly, Video Games and Computer Entertainment, GamePro, and more classic magazines to see what the critics said back when these games first came out. So go and grab your trusty yo-yo, because this is going to be a very polarizing episode of Nintendo Switch Online Review Crew.
They don't have it.
Trying to find the Nintendo games you want can be a lot like being in a Nintendo game.
Another dead end.
Come on.
You can end up looking in all the wrong places.
Oh no.
Stand back, son.
Or you can go to Toys R Us. Toys R Us has the world's biggest selection of Nintendo games and accessories at everyday low prices.
Next time, let's just come to Toys R Us.
If you were a fan of ninjas in the 8-bit era, then you sure had a lot of great action games to choose between. From Ninja Gaiden, to Shinobi, to Wrath of the Black Manta, this was an era filled to the brim with men in dark pajamas sneaking around the city streets. While the Ninja Gaiden trilogy is certainly hard to top, I'd say that Shadow of the Ninja comes in a close second. It's an exciting action game that mimics a lot of what Ryu Hayabusa was doing back in the day. In fact, this game was so similar to Tecmo's trilogy that when it came time to create a Game Boy version of Ninja Gaiden, they opted to port and rename Shadow of the Ninja. Now, that's pretty cool, but this Nintendo Entertainment System version is definitely the one to play, thanks to the color graphics and the two-player ninja action. Let's see what the critics had to say back in 1990. As you probably expected, Electronic Gaming Monthly's resident fake ninja, Sushi X, absolutely loved Shadow of the Ninja. Not just another ninja game, but the best one since Gaiden. Two can play, but best as a lone ninja. I really like the character animation and new moves that combine to make this non-stop entertainment. Steve also loved the game, going as far as to praise the up-and-coming developer. Shadow of the Ninja is a tremendous first effort from Natsumi. The graphics and play action are incredible for this configuration and have all the action you'd expect from a first-rate title. Expect big things from Natsumi. EGM ended up giving Shadow an average score of 8 out of 10. Now that's quite a bit higher than Nintendo Power, who could only muster up a 3.3 out of 5 when they reviewed it. GamePro, on the other hand, matched EGM scores with a 4 out of 5 raving about the graphics and gameplay. Does the name Natsumi ring a bell? This is the first NES cart from the company, whose programming prowess appeared in a bunch of other carts, such as Contra and Abadox. Natsumi's video game making experience is certainly in evidence here. This is an exciting adventure cart with excellent graphics and challenging gameplay. The graphics are sharp, with pixel-perfect stills between levels. The sound effects are great, even the background tunes are catchy. The highest score that I could find came from Video Games and Computer Entertainment, who gave the game a stellar 9 out of 10. Their biggest criticism was directed at the cliched nature of the martial arts storyline. As an entertainment medium, video games are just as legitimate as books and movies, and there's no reason why the subject matter should be limited to spaceships, ninjas, and baseball. But Natsumi shouldn't be criticized for bringing out another ninja game, because Shadow of the Ninja is one of the best games of any genre. Now that's a statement that I can get behind. If you haven't already, give Shadow of the Ninja a stab. Journey to Silius is one of those classic games that has a backstory that's actually more interesting than the finished product. When Sunsoft started production in the late 1980s, there was no Silius to journey to. Instead, it was a side-scrolling action game based on the Terminator franchise. Unfortunately, when Sunsoft lost the rights to the James Cameron property midway through development, the team was forced to alter the story, the enemies, and the dystopian world, creating a brand new action game that is probably even better without the movie tie-in. Journey to Silius is a great example of a developer overcoming the odds and creating an 8-bit game that would eventually be considered a cult classic. Let's see if the critics at the time were impressed by this inspiring story. Electronic Gaming Monthly was real mixed on the game, giving it an average score of 6.25 out of 10. Martin liked it the most, even going as far as to reference the behind-the-scenes drama in his review. Although they stripped the Terminator title from this game, Silius is going to be one of those sleeper hits this year. Like Batman, while the graphics are small in scale, this allows more variety in the backgrounds and gameplay. SushiX also compared Silius to a licensed property, but not the same one. Lucy meets Star Wars! A good action-adventure game with great music and standard enemy opposition. Typical Ross enemies throughout, as well as storyline intermissions. If you can't kill them, make them laugh. Wait, hang on. I don't think I get it. Ross enemies? Make them laugh? Oh man, I'm so confused. Thankfully, things were a bit more straightforward over at Nintendo Power, where they gave the game a 3 out of 5. That's the same score we saw in GamePro's 16th issue. They concluded that Journey to Silius features great graphics and a dynamite soundtrack. However, in terms of substance, the game doesn't quite live up to the way it looks. It's likely many gamers will enjoy a Journey to Silius, but the real pros will have to consider if this trip is necessary. Journey to Silius is fun, but it's really not one of the top-tier titles on the Nintendo Switch Online service.
Deep within Nintendo headquarters, expert game counselors answer your questions. Their source of information, Nintendo Power. Your direct connection to the pros for better play, smarter selection.
Sure. Check out Nintendo Power. It gives you all the game info you need before you buy, so you never make a mistake. And video maps really help your play. Play better, choose smarter. With Nintendo Power.
The official magazine of video mastery. For ordering information, call now or visit your Nintendo dealer.
There's a perception among many gamers that the classics that they grew up with were all given high marks by the critics. Well, that's certainly true for some games out there. I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of much-hyped classics that were trashed when they first came out. One of the greatest examples of this is StarTropics, a weird adventure game from Nintendo that felt like The Legend of Zelda with better weather. While these days you'll routinely see StarTropics listed as one of the best 8-bit games of all time, this was definitely not the sentiment back in the day. As hard as it is to believe, this tropical adventure game is actually one of the most polarizing games on the NES. Let's go ahead and take a look at both sides of this argument. In this corner is Nintendo Power, who ended up giving StarTropics a score of 4.5 out of 5, making it the magazine's 5th best reviewed game of 1990. They loved the tropical setting, the extreme challenge, and even the storytelling. They called the game a guaranteed hit, and then spent month after month after month giving Nintendo loyalists the hard sell. If you were a Nintendo Power subscriber in the early 1990s, then there's a real chance that you thought StarTropics was bigger than Zelda. Now, to say that Electronic Gaming Monthly disagreed would be a gross understatement. Giving it an average score of 4.75 out of 10, EGM hated almost everything about the game that Nintendo Power loved. SushiX summed it up perfectly. At first I thought I was playing Zelda, then Dragon Warrior, then Crystallis, then Ultima Avatar. What amazes me the most about StarTropics is the lack of any originality whatsoever. Steve agreed, arguing that somehow Nintendo managed to create an adventure game out of a boring plot. StarTropics is nothing more than an amalgam of other Quest games. And then there's Zad, who gave the game the highest marks and had what I'm choosing to call a silver lining. Somewhat reminiscent of Zelda, but better. Adequate graphics and action, but not exceptional. Still, it is worth buying just for the long quest. Well, personally, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as a 4.75 out of 10. I'm also not one of those people that thinks that StarTropics is an 8-bit classic. Check it out on Nintendo Switch Online and see who you side with, Nintendo Power or EGM.
Okay, so I gotta rescue my uncle, but I'm not too sure how to find him, so I can go to this island, right? First I gotta talk to the chief, and then I gotta get some clues from a parrot, and then I'm helping these dolphins, and all the time I'm sneaking through graveyards and shooting zombies and blasting monsters. Then my sub cracks up on the rocks, and then the next thing I know I'm cruising inside a whale. Whoa!
Oh, new game from Nintendo, man. StarTropics. Every chapter's like another adventure, so it's like a whole slew of games in one. What's the matter with you?
Hey, thanks for watching me count down these classic reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we have a whole playlist with episodes just like this. I also have a running list of all the Nintendo Switch Online games on the Defunct Games website. We're just going to go through and check off all the games that we've tackled already. And I guess here are 3 more that we can cross off. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite vacation game? Between the beach and sunny weather, StarTropics has the making of a perfect vacation game. What game do you turn to when you want to go somewhere that's, vacation-y? Let me see your picks in the comments below. Speaking of vacation-y, I'm off for the weekend, but we'll be back next week with more stuff. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,